Welcome in. Week 3 is here. The DFS OGs back in the house. Noto, shot, and beer ready to break everything down here in week 3 from a betting perspective. We, of course, sponsored by our good friends over at BetMGM. Kick off the new pro football season with the king of sportsbooks. Sign up with BetMGM. Use our promo code GRINDERS. Your first wager risk-free up to $1,000. So make sure you guys taking advantage of that. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Michigan, Mississippi, Nevada, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Puerto Rico, Tennessee, Virginia, Washington, D.C., West Virginia, Wyoming, or Ontario. Only must be 21 years or older to wager, 19 or older in Ontario. New customer offer only. All promotions subject to qualification, eligibility requirements, rewards issued as non-withdrawable free bets or site credits that expire after 7 days. Excludes Michigan disassociated persons. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona, 1-800-522-4700 in Colorado, D.C., Kansas, Louisiana, Nevada, Wyoming, or Virginia, 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help in Michigan, 1-800-GAMBLER in Indiana, Maryland, New Jersey, or West Virginia, 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa, 1-800-981-0023 in Puerto Rico. Call 877-8-HOPENY or text Hope New York in New York. Call or text the Tennessee Red Line, 800-889-9789 in Tennessee, or call 1-888-777-9696 in Mississippi. In Ontario, if you have any questions or concerns about your gambling or someone close to you, please contact Connects Ontario, 1-866-531-2600 to speak to an advisor free of charge. Sports betting is void in Georgia, Hawaii, Ohio, and Utah, and other states where prohibited. Promotional offers not available in New York and Nevada. Okay, I am out of breath. We got that out of the way. Welcome in, guys. Week 2 is in the books. Crazy week. I mean, a ton of teams making huge comebacks at the end of the game. I know a couple of them stung us. The Jets somehow pulling it off against the Cleveland Browns. The Miami Dolphins, who you absolutely needed in DFS this week. A shocking win in Baltimore. So, guys, week 2, did we survive the madness? Noto, let's start with you, buddy. How we doing? How was week 2?
Well, from a betting perspective, I got obliterated. It was pretty bad. So that wasn't good. DFS, I had enough Lamar and Tyreek to make it a profitable week, but didn't make up for the betting losses. But yeah, great job on the read. This is why we had you do it. We were talking before the show. I would have stumbled over myself at least 10 times during that read.
Well, we're gonna shuffle up those duties. We're gonna split that. I don't have enough breath. I'm getting old. I'm getting bigger. That's a long read. So, gamble responsibly. We will sum it up as that. Chop, week 2. We talked pre-show. We probably didn't have enough Dolphins in a spot we should have. How did week 2 treat you, my man?
I actually didn't catch the first. Could you reread that thing for me? I didn't catch.
Not happening. You can go back and watch the replay. And anyone out there, you want to catch that glorious read, you can listen to it as many times as you want on the rewatch. So, Chop, you've been assigned the read for week 4, so study up. But week 2, how was it?
DFS was okay. It wasn't great, wasn't bad. It was just fine. The looking at the bets that I put in here, the best bets. I was quite invested in the New Orleans bet, and then I thought they dominated. I thought that was an easy win up until the point where Mark Ingram fumbled when they were about to take it in for a touchdown. Like, Mark Ingram fumbled and cost them basically the game. So it's always disappointing when that happens. But it was okay, man. It was an okay week too. I'm still waiting to spring a big week here. Hopefully, eventually.
Well, knowing your history, Chop, it's coming. So just keep plugging away, and I think you're gonna find that big week. So before we get into week 3, we're gonna cover every game: Thursday night, Sunday night, Monday night, and the Sunday slate. Let's recap those bets that we are talking about. Now, Chop, you weren't alone. All 3 of us landed on the Saints. And like you said, I mean, that's a 3-3 game. You're feeling pretty good about it. Who's going to score? And Tampa Bay ends up kind of pulling away at the end, 20-10. So that one stung us. We all 3 were on the Lions, though. Lions come and dominate the first half, try to let Washington back in the game, but they survived. So we covered there. Chop, you also had Denver on the card. Noto, you did as well. Just a disappointing performance. I mean, just a boring game. I mean, nothing really happened in that game. Houston hangs around and ends up covering that one. Chop, you did hit on Green Bay, as I did, dominated that game against the Bears as we expected. You also hit on Buffalo, a huge win against Tennessee on Monday night. Noto, stung by Cincinnati, somehow goes to Dallas and just does not perform against Cooper Rush and company. My other bet, Vegas, another one that just gave it away, dominating the game and gives it away at the end. Arizona somehow wins that game in overtime. And I also had Philly on Monday night with a convincing win there against the Vikings. So as for our best bets, standing wise, Chop, you got some work to do here, my man. 4-10. Noto at 500 at 5-10. I'm sitting a game over 500, or 2 games over at 6-4 on the season. So week 3 looks like an interesting slate of games. As always, let's start with Thursday night football. Cleveland hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers here. Both teams come in 1-1 here at BetMGM. We got Cleveland -4.5. Total way down there, 38.5 as you'd expect. So, Chop, let's start with you. Cleveland looks good for 90% of that game and then somehow gives it away to the Jets. Pittsburgh doesn't look great either the first 2 weeks. They end up losing to New England at home. So what happens here? Very low total game like we thought. This one should be ugly. Where are you going here, Steelers and Browns?
Well, let's see here. First of all, I want to correct one thing real quick. 4 out of 10, not 4 and 10.
4 out of 4 and 6.
4 and 6.
Go.
I don't want to
set the record straight.
Yeah, that's a big difference there. But this game right here is, this is an ugly game. I'm sure it's going to be a nice rivalry game, so it'll be fun in that aspect. But the offenses are challenged here. And you know what's another thing I was saying the other day? I was telling somebody, you get these games, and you mentioned the Green Bay dominating and how we hit that bet, right? And you're sitting there watching that game, like I think it was the fourth quarter. Like if they give Justin Fields credit for the touchdown instead of it was a total coin flip. He probably got in, maybe not. Couldn't overturn it. They bust the spread. Like that's how these NFL games are so. Even the easiest win is never an easy win. It's always something you got to sweat. So I would imagine this thing goes back and forth with who's going to end up winning this game or cover the spread. So I can't mess with that. I got to go under here. These offenses are challenged. I mean, one offense is led by Brissett, and they're not particularly good. I'm very disappointed in what the Steelers have done this year. I guess Trubisky just isn't that good. I mean, I really thought maybe he could turn a corner here with a new franchise and a little experience, but it's almost going to be Kenny Pickett time. So I got to take the under here. I just don't see how we're going to score a lot of points in this game.
I'm with you on the under for sure. If I had a lean, it's Cleveland. This thing opened at -3. It's jumped up to 4.5. But like you said, I think it's going to be an ugly, competitive game that probably comes down to a field goal. So do I want to bet on Mitch Trubisky? Hell no. Do I want to bet on Jacoby Brissett? Hell no, I do not. I want to bet on an ugly game, which if you're playing the one-game slate means kickers, means defenses, means the Cleveland running game, I think is the way to go here. So I'm with you on the under. I'm staying away from the spread here. Noto, you a little bit more adventurous than us here. You want to put a bet on this game?
Yeah, the damn Browns got me last week. They're going to get me again this week. When they went up 14, they had a 99.9% win probability, and they lost. So I was waiting for the Myles Garrett news. It does sound like he's going to play on Thursday night. That's enough for me. I mean, Mitchell Trubisky looked terrible week 1. He probably should have thrown 4 or 5 interceptions last week against the Patriots. So I'm taking the home team. I think Chubb should have a lot of success on the ground. And I was playing around with the Parlay IQ tool there on Scores and Odds. And you can get, a Chubb touchdown, the Brown spread, and then maybe bring it back with, some passing props for the Steelers, something like that. It's a really cool tool if you haven't checked it out. But give me the Browns for my first best bet.
All right, lock it in Cleveland. He is more adventurous here. So Cleveland, best bet for Noto. And yeah, if you on the screen, you're seeing scoresandodds.com. If you are not familiar, make sure you go check it out. Just an incredible site. The ability to compare odds across all the different sports books. And Derek mentioned Parlay IQ, first of its kind in the industry. It'll show you the best bets that correlate with each other, whether it's a same game parlay or across different games. So an incredible tool that has yet to be seen in the industry. So a lot of fun to mess with that. So that alone worth the price of admission. So go check it out. It's a site that we use a lot. We all contribute to the site, and Parlay IQ was a lot of fun to mess with last week, and I'm excited to dig in again this week. So next game, let's move to Sunday. We got Baltimore and New England, two teams coming off. Baltimore blows that one. New England gets a W, but it was ugly. This one sitting at -3 at BetMGM, -105 on Baltimore, +115 or -115 for New England with that +3, 43.5 on the total. Now there are spreads as low as 1.5 out there. So Derek, we got quite a wide range of opinions on this game with the Ravens and the Patriots. How do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, last week with the Patriots, we all kind of said this line feels a little funny. Why are they favored on the road at Pittsburgh? And when lines feel funny, usually that means, you want to take the side that doesn't look as appealing, which was the Patriots. And they went on to win that game pretty easily. So I don't have a strong take on this one. I don't think it's going to be one that I bet personally. I'm going to take the under in this one just because the Patriots, they don't want to play at a fast pace. They want to slow it down. Their defense is pretty good. They're playing at home. So I'll take the under, but not a game that I'm going to be betting on personally.
Yeah, I'm with you. A lot of bets and money flowing in on the Ravens. 89% of the bets, 81% of the money. It seems like the way most people are looking to go. I'm with you on the under, though. I see another ugly game. New England's never a team that's going to score a ton of points unless Baltimore comes out and blitzes them right away and forces their hand. New England wants to win ugly, run the ball, play some defense. So another under for me here as well. Chop, stronger thoughts here on the Ravens, New England at home, and any spread bets for you here?
Yeah, I think so. But first off, I'd like to address the what Notorious was saying about the Browns. I mean, 99% win probability. So can we tweak or adjust the probability thing? Because I see way too many of these 99% to win, then they end up losing. If you're 99% to win, like you shouldn't be constantly losing. And teams like you should tweak the thing, right? 99% means not.
It was 99.9 too.
You're not going to say 100% means it's a done deal. Like that's a final score. It's 100. So 99 should be damn near like there's 30 seconds left. We just got to take some knees. That's 99%. Like if there's time on the clock, and you said it was 99% after the 14-0 lead. That's not a true 99%. Then
no. These guys, after they went up 14 with less than 2 minutes.
Okay. Well, even then, that's not like,
No, I hear you.
Yeah, they need to tweak that. I mean, just these nerds and their numbers, man. They need to tweak this stuff, man. They ain't giving us the right package here. But I'm all over this game. I'm not worried about like. I don't think it's that fishy. I'm okay with it. I'm taking the Ravens here as a best bet. I've been against New England since training camp. I don't think they have a good team. I think their offense is bad. I think their defense isn't as good as it's been in years past. The Ravens blew that game last week. Man, there was a lot of that had to do with being terribly beat up in the secondary. And I get it. But even up to that point in the game when they were up late in that game, they were doing an okay job. I don't think it's going to take – they held up okay until that last run by Miami. They held up okay against the Dolphins. For sure they can hold up okay against New England. And New England's not much of an offensive force. I got to take the Ravens here. I think the Ravens win this game going away.
All right, best bet for Chop, Baltimore -3 here in New England. Next game, this one should be fun, guys. Buffalo traveling to Miami to take on the Dolphins. Both teams coming in 2-0 to this one. Huge total in this one at 52.5. That has ticked up from 51.5 at open. Buffalo open -4.5. That has gone all the way up to Buffalo -6. So Chop, Buffalo, I've said this many times. It feels like when New England was just destroying everybody, like you couldn't make the spread high enough. That's how I feel about this Buffalo team. They're just better than everybody on both sides of the ball. And Miami, yeah, they get a good win, but they were down 35-14 or whatever it was late in that game. So an historic comeback. is Miami as good as they look on paper at 2-0? Can they survive this test? They're at home. We generally like our home underdogs here, Chop. Are you believing in these Dolphins enough to take the +6 here?
I mean, it's crazy. It doesn't feel like a big number for Buffalo, but it's a 2-0 team at home getting 6 points. That's pretty respectable right there, man. Like for that's a lot of respect for Buffalo is what I'm saying. Like, and I'm with you. We've been beating this drum for a while now. This team looks like the best team in the NFL. Like, if they don't come out of the AFC, something happened. You know, if Josh Allen stays healthy, Stephon Diggs stay healthy, this is the best team in the AFC. It's the best team in the NFL, period, bar none. They got the total package. Don't know if I could lay 6 on the road, though, although I wouldn't doubt they cover it. You know what? I'll take Buffalo. I'm not going to put it down as a best. I'll take Buffalo just because you got to have some sort of like coming down off a high cloud if you're the Miami team. Like, after what they did last week, I don't think all that momentum carries over. I think they have a little bit of a dead stretch, and this is a really good Buffalo team. So I'll take Buffalo. Can't put the stamp of best bet behind it, but I still think Buffalo ends up winning this game by more than a touchdown.
I do too, but I'm going to go to the over here. I mean, that Miami defense was just shredded by Baltimore, who was a shell of what Buffalo is going to bring offensively here. Miami has shown that they can score points. So Buffalo, a very good defense. I don't know if they're going to shut this Miami team down. So, Derek, big number here, but I think we get a lot of points. I mean, Buffalo can put 40 on the board on their own. So maybe the bet is just betting their team over here in this one. But I like the over. I do think Buffalo wins by more than the touchdown here, but I feel better about the over. Where are you going here? Buffalo -6, Dolphins +6, or are we going on the total?
I think the over is a very good bet. The Dolphins been one of the highest pass rate over expectation teams so far in the first 2 weeks. But like you said, man, I don't think there's a line high enough for me not to bet the Bills right now. They just look dominant. They've been boat racing teams. Talk about Miami. I mean, look, they looked great in the fourth quarter last week, but Baltimore was down 3 of their best cornerbacks. So I don't know. Buffalo can get pressure on the quarterback. I saw today that Tua is 28th under pressure out of like 32 quarterbacks since the start of last year. So if they can get pressure on Tua, I think it's going to be a different story. So I'm locking in Buffalo as my second best bet.
All right, Buffalo -6 for Noto, a best bet to go along with the Cleveland bet on Thursday night. All right, we go from that game, guys. Cincinnati and the Jets up next. The Bengals coming off a Super Bowl and the old Super Bowl hangover, sitting at 0-2, but they are 5-point favorites here. That has stayed steady since open. Total has ticked up from 43 up to 45 here at BetMGM. So, Derek, Jets get a very good win. Looks like another week of Joe Flacco here for this team. Garrett Wilson certainly arrived on the scene. Big game in Cleveland. These Bengals, though, I mean, the offensive line continues to be a problem. Joe Burrow playing like one of the worst quarterbacks in the league right now. So can Cincy right the ship here? Big 5-point favorites on the road against an upstart Jets team.
Everything in me says to lock in the Bengals again, but I can't do it. They've burned me twice. The Jets already burned me once. You mentioned the offensive line issues. Burrow's been holding the ball too long, and they've been running on first down more than almost any team, even when they've been trailing. So they've been a very predictable offense thus far. I'm not messing with the 5. I'm going to take the over. I think both of these offenses are good enough to cover this total, but man, I really want to lock in the Bengals. This is the team that I've been most wrong about so far, but I just can't. I can't go 0-3 on them.
They've been stinging you. A lot of people on Cincinnati. We're showing 88% of the bets, 92% of the money on Cincy. So, Chop, the public all over this thing. Any thought to go with the Jets here and believe what we saw at the end of that game, or does Cincinnati right the ship here?
I really don't have an opinion on this spread. Like, Cincinnati is a fine team. I'm sure they'll snap out of it. They spent a lot was made out of all the money they spent on the offensive line, and through 2 games, Burrow's been pressured more than he was last year. Like, the offensive line is not holding up very well. And so I'd be nervous about that. I'd be nervous about the Jets, the fact that last week, so we know they have Elijah Moore. We haven't even seen him break out yet. And then last week we saw the Garrett Wilson breakout game. That's scary already right there. Okay. I'm scared. You got two guys now. You don't know which one. And by the way, Lurkin is Corey Davis. And so Joe Flacco's able to get him the ball a little, probably more than Zach Wilson right now. So Joe Flacco's not a bad thing. I'd be scared to take the Bengals here. And then at the same time, I'd be scared to take the Jets for the same reason as the Dolphins. You're coming back off this miraculous win last week, and maybe you come down a little bit off the cloud. Everything in the NFL says a team like Cincinnati won't go 0-3. So I don't know, man. I'm totally torn on it. So let's just say that these defenses don't hold up. Too many weapons. I'll take the over. I just don't have a big lean on this game.
I'm with you. I don't have strong feelings on the total here, the spread. I mean, if anything, I'd probably go against the public. If 90% of the public is betting something, track record is usually they're wrong. Now that being said, it's hard to believe in the Jets. You saw a historic comeback, but for the first 3.5 quarters of that game, they did not look great. So I would lean the Jets with the points, hope for a close game. But this is one I will probably avoid here on this Sunday slate. Next game, we got New Orleans traveling to Carolina. New Orleans 1-1. Panthers yet to find a win, -3 here in favor of the Saints. That's up from a 2 open here at BetMGM, -105 for the Saints, total at 40.5. So, Chop, they stung us last week. Do they go into Carolina, a team that just looks awful? I mean, Baker Mayfield has not been great here. McCaffrey's been decent, but not the guy that we've expected. DJ Moore has really been a disappointment as well, not getting a ton of targets in that offense. The Saints, we'll see what the word is on Alvin Kamara. But Chris Olave, Chop, I know you love air yards. This guy had like 7,000 air yards last week. So he's starting to get it going. Michael Thomas has looked good here. Jameis dealing with a lot of injuries. I mean, it does not sound good. So he likely plays, but what percent Jameis do we get here? So, Chop, I know you're a big Saints guy. Do they right the ship here in Carolina?
So as to the Olave air yards, he might be a big time recommendation this week for a lot of people, and he could go off, but you got to be careful with those air yards right there, because if you watch the game, like, they were all way downfield targets, and they weren't even close. They weren't even competitive. Like, he was never going to get to. Jameis overthrew him by like 15 yards every time. So I don't know, man. Those air yards might be a little bit deceiving. But with that being said, Jameis kind of looks like a robot with the Saints. Like with Tampa, he made mistakes, but he free flowed. He let it go. He let it rip. With New Orleans, it feels like he's trying to hold everything in just to not make that big mistake. Man, you can't cage up a tiger like that, man. You gotta let that guy loose, man. So the faster they let him loose and let him wing it a little bit, the better this team's going to be. I hope they do it sometime soon. I got to ride this train again. I think the defense is elite. I've seen nothing out of Mayfield leading this team that tells me this is a good offensive Panthers team. So I think the Saints can come in here and, shut this team down. And I think the offense is good enough if they just let Winston chuck the ball a little bit. So he'll make some mistakes. What you're going to get in the other possessions is greatness. So I'm taking New Orleans, lock that in as a best bet.
All right, I hate to do it to you, Chop. I'm not going to do a best bet. I want to go against you here, but I kind of like Carolina in this spot, catching points at home, likely an ugly game, very low total here. I think they got to get things figured out in getting the ball in the hands of DJ Moore and Christian McCaffrey. It's simple as that. They don't have a lot of weaponry outside of that, unless you're Robbie Anderson's mom. You want to make a case for him, okay? But these two guys need to touch the ball. Now, the matchup, not great. New Orleans, very good defense. You worry about Baker Mayfield, but no, am I crazy here? I like Carolina plus the 3. Again, not a best bet for me, but that's the way I'm leaning on this one.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of Baker, but I do like the Panthers here. I mean, they're a couple plays away from being 2-0. I mean, the Saints, they come out Sunday morning and say Jameis is playing with 4 fractures in his back, and then they say, but he can't get any worse. It's like, how does that work? If I have 4 fractures in my back, I think if I get hit, it'll make it worse. But I don't know how that works. And to Charles' point, the air yards, you do got to be careful with those. If anyone knows of a catchable air yard stat out there, please hit me up. I'd love to see that, because it would be a lot more predictive when it comes to DFS. But yeah, I'll take the points at home. I don't feel great about it. I'm not a Baker truther, but get the ball to McCaffrey, and I think they can stay in this one.
All right, let's move on. Another high total game here. Detroit, the highest scoring offense in the NFL. I never thought I would utter those words, but here we are in 2022, and the Lions have been putting points on the board. They travel to Minnesota coming off that disappointing game. And what's up with Kirk Cousins and Monday Night Football? What is the deal with this guy? Like, he can be very effective, and we all thought Minnesota has a shot to win this division. Has that thought changed here? And Noto, what is the deal with Cousins under the lights?
Yeah, I don't get it. I'm still mad at myself for not locking that in as one of my best bets. It's easy money. It's printing money if you just bet against Kirk Cousins in prime time. I still think they're fine for the season. Just keep him off of those primetime games, and I think they have a pretty good shot at winning the division.
Chop, any thoughts on this? Kirk Cousins under the lights?
I kind of sometimes don't buy into stuff like that. And then I saw Minnesota week 1 and what they did to a real good Green Bay team. And I thought, you guys are going to get burned going against Cousins because that's just not a real thing. It might be a real thing. I mean, he looked not only not good, he looked downright terrible because they could have competed in that game and maybe even pulled an upset had he just made like some of those easy throws. It was crazy, but maybe it is a real thing. Maybe it hits nighttime and the kid can't play anymore. I don't know, but I'm starting to. I won't ever bet for him again when he's under the lights.
Yeah, keep that one. Keep that one in your notes. Anytime he's on a primetime game, maybe some easy money. So, Derek, we got the Lions 6-point underdogs here at BetMGM traveling to Minnesota. The total has moved from 50.5 to 52.5. That spread has come down. Started at 7.5, settled in at 6, which feels the 6 may be a little bit too high. So hopefully people were able to grab that 7.5 if you're on the Lions. But first road test, you know, they've looked good at home, a lot of coming off of Hard Knocks, and the crowd's fired up. Now you go within the division, a team that dominated the Green Bay Packers at home in week 1. What version of Minnesota do we get here? Are we buying the Lions? Are we taking the points? Or do we continue to just bet the over? I mean, over's 2-0 easily in these Lions games. They're almost hitting them at the half. So a lot of ways you can go here, Derek. What are we doing, Lions and Vikings?
I'm on team over just because the Lions, regardless of game script, they are going to find themselves in shootouts. If they're behind, they're going to be able to come back pretty easily. We've seen what this offense is able to do. They got a lot of playmakers. Jared Goff actually looks like a pretty decent quarterback this year. And then if they're, playing from ahead, this defense is going to be giving up a ton of points. So I'm on the over. I do think the Vikings bounce back and win this game, but 6 is a lot for me. So this is the game you want to stack for DFS. I think it's perfect. Sets up really well. Both these teams like to push the pace, but give me the over.
Yeah, I'm with you on the over. I want to take the Lions. They were very good at covering spreads last season. I think they're going to continue to be competitive in a lot of games, but over feels like the more sensible play here. Minnesota should get back on track. Their defense is not good enough where it's going to prevent Detroit from scoring points here. So 2 for 2 on the over, Top. Are you with us on that, or are you diving in on the spread here with Lions Vikings?
No, I can't mess with that spread, I don't think. So I'm going to take the over too. Yeah, my analysis would be that Minnesota's back at home. Detroit's defense doesn't look great, so I think we'll get back to the good play from Cousins, which is going to lead to a lot of points. And on Detroit's side, there's going to be very few defenses that are going to slow this offense down enough this year. And I say that because their offensive line is staggeringly good, staggeringly good, however you want to say it.
Yeah, it sounds good enough.
They're like Swift is a good running back. Like he's really good. And then you combine him and what he can do with an offensive line that's giving him so many yards before contact. It's sick. Now, question for you guys. And I was just thinking about this the other day. So let's go back now a couple years to the draft. And Cincinnati, they took Jamar Chase, and he looks like a game changer at wide receiver, but they passed up on Sewell, who could be an absolute game changer in the offensive line. And we see what he's helping Detroit do. And you see what Joe Burrow's going through. Would you still make the Chase over Sewell pick?
I would not, because you already had T. Higgins. Tyler Boyd can be a serviceable number 2, and then you plug somebody else in at the 3. You still got a hell of an offense with Joe Mixon, and you get Mixon a line. You get Burrow a line. So, it's Chase is phenomenal, no doubt. Nothing against Jamar Chase, generational talent, as the kids love to say. But I'm a big believer in the trenches. Building strong offensive, defensive lines first, and then building out from there. So I was with you in the Sewell pick from the time we've talked about it years ago. Still with you now, Derek. Your thoughts here?
That's a great question. I think I would. I don't know. At the time, I wanted the offensive lineman for Cincinnati. I think it made a lot more sense. But I think it's a coaching issue with their offensive line. I mean, they brought in a bunch of good players in the offseason, and they're worse than they were last year. So I don't know. It's hard to look back, but I love the question. Love thinking about that kind of stuff.
Yep. All right. So 3 for 3 on the over there. Next game, I'm going to see if anyone's got any stones here.
Yes, I do.
To bet the Indianapolis Colts, who have been probably the biggest disappointment. I don't even think it's close so far in the NFL. The tie in week 1, 2 in Houston. You get shut out by Derek's Jacksonville Jaguars. So I know, Derek, you enjoyed that one here. Now you got Kansas City coming to town, who has blitzed everybody thus far. Big line movement here. This thing opened at -3 in favor of the Chiefs. We're up to 6.5 here in favor of the Kansas City Chiefs. Total in this one is up there as well at 50.5. So, Chop, I'm going to stay with you here. You have the stones to bet the Colts here, 6.5 point home underdogs, or are we just going to continue to roll with the Chiefs?
Oh yes, you could give me the Colts here.
Okay.
I don't think I have the stones to lock it in as a best bet, but I absolutely, would be surprised that the Colts, you don't get the best effort out of the Colts here in this game, and the Chiefs going on the road 2-0. They're good, but yeah, I think the Colts have the game plan, the ability to kind of neutralize Mahomes a little with Jonathan Taylor. You got to feed your guy. I don't know what's going on with Matt Ryan. Maybe three quarterbacks in 3 years, 4 quarterbacks in 4 years, maybe if you count some of that stuff. Was a lot to overcome for Indianapolis, but I'm going to stick by the fact that I think Matt Ryan is still the best quarterback that they've had in a while, and it's a good coaching staff. I think they'll right the ship, and I think it starts this week, so I like the Colts here.
All right. Chop had medium stones, Derek. He likes the Colts. He's not locking them in as a best bet. You want to go big here, or too many concerns here with this Colts team?
Yeah, locking them in as my third best bet of the week. I don't mind them money line, a little bit of money line action too.
There we go.
So, yeah, everything Chop said. Look, the Chiefs look great. I think the Chargers could have beat them pretty easily, last Thursday night. But, I mean, the Colts, we can't hold it against them. Jaguars, they're going to shut out a lot of teams this year, all the way to the Super Bowl probably. But no, kidding aside, Pittman's back at practice. I think the running game's going to get going. They're back at home. It just feels like a game where everyone thinks the Chiefs are going to blow them out, just natural overreaction, and I think they cover pretty easily.
I'm going to stay away from the spread. I'm actually going to go under on this game. I don't know that this Chiefs offense is going to continue to score at the rate they're going to. This Colts defense, respectable. We'll see if they get some pieces back here, but I think an under is in play here. If the Colts have their way, how are they going to do it? They're going to dominate time of possession. They're going to run the hell out of the ball with Jonathan Taylor and Naheem Hines. They're going to keep Patrick Mahomes on the sideline. So kind of correlates with your guys' bet. I don't even hate a little two-teamer there. If the Colts are going to win, it's likely going to have to be ugly. I don't think you want Matt Ryan going into a shootout with Patrick Mahomes. You're drawing debt 99.9% of the time, Chop. That's not going to go well for the Colts. So I'm going to go under on this one. It might be a little bit uglier of a game than most people are expecting. Speaking of ugly, Raiders 0-2. Big collapse at home against the Cardinals. Titans get absolutely dominated in Buffalo, 41-7. So both teams winless here. Latest spread up to 2.5 in favor of the Raiders. This thing opened at Tennessee -1, so it has flipped big time in favor of the Raiders. Total at 45.5, Derek. So clearly, the Raiders, the better of I don't know if it's even clear. These teams both have been pretty bad. But any thoughts here? I mean, which one of these 0-2 teams gets off the schneid here?
This is one I'm staying away from with my actual money. But, Man, it seems like Mike Vrabel has always had his guys in Tennessee, just battling in the trenches and, really just fighting until the end of the game. And we just haven't seen it the first two games. The offensive line hasn't been great. Tannehill's really struggled, and then they just completely gave up against Buffalo. So I'm betting on the more talented team in the Raiders. The road favorite doesn't seem great, so I'm not locking it in, but I just don't trust anything Tennessee's doing right now.
Chop, which one of these 0-2 teams gets the W? Can Tennessee get Derrick Henry going? Do we see a bounce back here from Devontae Adams, who was very popular in week 2 in DFS and laid a dud here? What happens to Raiders and Titans?
So to Derek's point, they quit. Why did they quit? Why haven't they looked like, the normal Titans team that we're used to under Vrabel? Well, maybe it has something to do with the fact that you traded your best wide receiver, your second best offensive player, period, in a salary cap move earlier, over during the draft. So people don't like that. Players don't like that, man. You weaken the team because you didn't want to spend a little money. So it's not a good sign to give out to people. And I think they're paying for it now. They've looked terrible on both sides of the ball so far. The Raiders at least can, rely on the fact that, or look back on the fact that tough week 1 matchup, that's fine, you lose. The one to Arizona, that was probably 99.9% win probability too. But that was a really flukish loss that probably shouldn't have happened. So they've definitely been the better team. One of these teams probably had decent expectations. Both these teams probably had decent expectations headed into the year. One of them is going to end up 0-3. I think it's going to be the Titans. I think the Raiders end up winning this game on the road. So I'm not going to lock it in, but yeah, I think the Raiders walk away with this game.
I lean the Raiders as well. I think they're the better team here. You mentioned Tennessee just not playing with a lot of heart. I mean, they're really going to have to get Derrick Henry going here. Tannehill, I think it's going to come a time that they got to play the kid Willis and let him see, do they have something here or not? So, Tannehill, he had his brief year or two and has not shown much this season. So I think it'll be Willis time here sooner than later. And that may start if they lose this game. So no best bets here. But I'm with you, Chop, with the Raiders minus the 2.5. So next game, Philly and Washington. Philly looks dominant, guys. Jalen Hurts entering the MVP conversation here. Huge performance on Monday night against the Vikings. Big line movement here. Philly started minus 2.5. We're all the way up to Philly minus 6.5. 47.5 is the total here, Chop. So Phillies look great. Washington, survives week 1 against Jacksonville, tries to come back in week 2 against Detroit, falls short here. Carson Wentz getting a lot of talk in DFS land, putting numbers on the board, some solid receivers. Should be an interesting game. And I think this one could be very stackable as well. It's not the 50s in some of the other totals here, but two teams that love to play fast here. Chop, what happens here? Eagles and whatever the hell they're called now.
Well, I would say that I don't like to do the whole transitive thing where you look at one team and say, well, against them you did this, so you could have done this against them. But you look back at the Detroit, Philly, we were talking about Detroit's offensive line and how they smashed Philly. And then you saw what Philly did to Dalvin Cook and a pretty good offensive line and running game. So that's how good Detroit is. But Philly is – I'm taking Philly as the best bet here. I don't believe in Carson Wentz, that's for sure. I'm his biggest detractor. So I don't like Carson Wentz. And if there is any team, every team in the league has a blueprint on him. But if any team knows him inside and out, it's his former team that traded his ass away. They'll know exactly what to do to shut him down and how to rattle him, which is not hard to do anyway. This offense with Jalen Hurts right now and A.J. Brown, in the NFC at least, they're unstoppable. Right now, I can foresee them going to the Super Bowl against Buffalo, and I don't think anybody beats Buffalo. But right now, they're the best team in the NFC. Jalen Hurts is just – I don't think he's a very accomplished passer yet. I don't think he ever will be. But his combination of running and passing is elite, and they'll put up points, and Carson Wentz won't. So locking in Eagles, best bet.
All right, third bet for Chop on the board, Philadelphia. Derek's got 3. I have yet to submit a best bet and not going to do it here either. I'm with you. I like Philadelphia, just not a best bet. I actually like the over more here. I mean, these two teams love to throw the ball. That stops the clock. I think we're going to get some scoring here. Can Washington do their part of it, Derek? Again, Philadelphia team total. Maybe that's the bet here, but I lean more to the over in this game. I like stacking this game in DFS. Are you with Chop here, or does Washington cover these points at home?
Yeah, I really like the pick from Chop. I think Philly's going to run away with this game. Look, Washington, they're a bottom 3 run defense so far this season, and they've come back in both games. They were down big against the Jaguars. They were down big against the Lions. I think Philly has the cornerbacks needed to kind of, if they get up big, I don't think Washington's going to make a big comeback like they had the first 2 weeks. They have Darius Slay, brought in James Bradbury. They traded for Gardner Johnson. So this is a team that is solid on both sides of the ball. I'm not locking them in, but give me the Eagles.
All right, we go from that to an ugly game once again. Houston and Chicago. I mean, you got to be dedicated to watch this one. But I do have a best bet on this game, so we'll get to that here momentarily. Texans 0-1-1, been competitive against 2 pretty good teams in the Colts and the Denver Broncos. Chicago, big week 1 win against San Francisco. Somewhat competitive in that game in Green Bay. Like Chop said, if field scores, maybe it's a different game. They cover that spread. Needless to say, we got Bears -2.5 here at BetMGM. Total sitting way down at 40. So, Derek, ugly game, 2 pretty bad teams. Which one survives here? Texans and Bears.
Since we're only keeping track of 5 games this year, each of us, I'm going to abstain from this one, just like I tried to last year. You guys wouldn't let me. But I am going to do it here. But I will note, from a DFS perspective, I think it's a little bit interesting. We got Brandon Cooks. He's cheap, very beatable secondary for Chicago. And then David Montgomery, they were giving him the ball while down, 2 touchdowns to the Packers a bunch. So I think this could be an interesting DFS game, but not one that I'm going to be betting.
All right, Chop, let's go to you. We got an abstain from Derek. We got a low spread. We got a low total. Any picks here, Texans and Bears?
I could see it going either way. So I don't really have a pick there. If I was going to do anything, I'd probably go back towards the under. Like, the weather has had a lot to do with it, but Chicago's only thrown the ball 34% of the time this year. They've been run heavy, and like Derek said, they were down by multiple scores and still running Montgomery last week. So, and I think the Texans make a better effort to get Dameon Pierce involved. So I think it goes under. I don't have a lean, but I'm interested to see what your best bet is.
Best bet on this game is going to be the Houston Texans plus the points. I like what I've seen out of this team. I said in our preseason pod, I think this team is underrated. I think they're going to be competitive in every single game. They should have beat the Colts. They let them back in the game. They had all the opportunities going to Denver, which is a very tough place to play, and win that game as well. I am a non-believer in the Chicago Bears. You mentioned Chop. They don't throw the ball at all. Now, Houston can't stop the run. That's the concern. It's David Montgomery run all over them, but I'd hate to say, I think Houston's a more talented team out of these two. So I will take the points. I don't hate the money line here. I think Texans go in there and get the win in Chicago. So mark me down, Houston. First best bet on the board. All right, next game, Jacksonville. We're in the late window now, traveling to LA to take on the Chargers. Big line movement here as well. Chargers opened up -10, disrespecting Derek's Jacksonville Jags. That is now down to -7, and that's sitting at even. So Jaguars -115 here at BetMGM plus the 7, total at 47.5. So Chop, Jacksonville could very well be 2-0. They had their chances to win that game in Washington in week 1. They dominate the Colts in week 2. Stiff test here, hitting the road, crossing the country to take on the Chargers. Now, my question, what is the status and what Justin Herbert? I mean, that guy could barely even walk at the end of that game, stays in and gets the job done. But are you concerned there? What are we doing with this one? Jags and Chargers.
I mean, that's the only possible reason I could think of that the thing would drop like this. There's no other reason why. Like, somebody must either think something or know something. So would it be a shock at this point when you see a line movement like that they rule out Herbert? It wouldn't be a shock at all. And there's no way I could lay points with who's the backup? Isn't it the old guy that's made a lot of money by just being a backup. I forget his name.
Is it still Tyrod, or did he leave once they
he's from
stabbed him? And
Missouri guy, the little white.
Daniel.
Oh, Chase
That's
Daniel.
him, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so there's no way I'm laying a touchdown with Chase Daniel. So this tells me beware. Herbert might not be playing. And because of that, it makes me not want to even mess with this game. If I was going to do anything, not knowing those facts, I'd take the under. Just even with Herbert, the defense should still be able to control Jacksonville, and then maybe you get a little running game action. Even with Herbert, do you really want to drop Herbert back 30 times and let him take a bunch of shots to his ribs? No, I think they run the ball a little more. So I'd say the under here, but I don't have a lean with not knowing the Herbert news.
All right, before we get to our resident Jacksonville fan, I'm going to lock in another best bet on this game. And Derek, I'm a believer. Jacksonville is playing some good football here. This line, like Chop said, I don't know if Herbert's in or not. Even if he's in, what percent? He's certainly not 99.9%. He's going to be closer to 60, 70% here. And I hate the across the country travel, but I think the Jags can potentially win this game, but definitely can stay competitive in this game. So it has ticked under 7 at a few spots here. I'm locking in Jacksonville as a best bet plus the points. So crazy, not crazy. This is your team. So you let me know. Jags best bet for me.
Sounds like we have a AFC South truther on our hands, betting the Texans and Jags.
Locking in the Texans and the Jags. I might have started drinking early today.
I don't think it's crazy. Trevor Lawrence has looked good. Christian Kirk has really helped the passing attack, and then the defense is playing well. So it's not crazy, especially with Herbert there. I'm not going to go with you. I'm going to go with Chop and bet the under just because I don't know what to expect from Herbert. But isn't it crazy that the same doctor that punctured Tyrod Taylor's lung is now working on Justin Herbert? How is he still there?
I don't know. I'd be asking for a second opinion, third opinion. Don't let this guy anywhere near me.
Wasn't Tyrod dealing with the rib injury too? When it happened?
I don't remember what it was. That was week 1, right? That's how Herbert even got on the field.
Yeah.
That might have been on purpose. We don't even know. Maybe he got rewarded for that.
Where is Tyrod now?
He's suing the doctor now.
Anyone know where Tyrod is?
In the courtroom.
Giants, maybe? I don't know. Who cares? We don't need to talk about Tyrod Taylor. Let's talk. Battle of the Bays. Green Bay, Tampa Bay up next. Line movement here as well. Opened up Tampa -3. We're down to Tampa -1 here at BetMGM. Total, pretty low total here. 41.5. Two pretty good defenses here with these two Hall of Fame quarterbacks. So, Derek, let's say with you, Tampa survives. It's not pretty. There's not a lot of stats being put on the board. Leonard Fournette apologizing to his fantasy owners here. Big brawl there in that game. So Mike Evans suspended for this game. So they're going to be down a couple receivers here. Green Bay rights the ship at home against a bad Chicago team. So, not a lot to get too excited about here. Should be a fun game to watch. I do have a best bet on this game. Derek, your thoughts here, Packers and Bucks.
I'm going to return the favor. You bet on my team, so I'm going to lock in your team, Beer. I love the Packers in this spot. So the Bucks, they're not only down their offensive lineman, they're down their backup offensive lineman. They're playing third stringers right now. Akeem Hicks just got ruled out, one of their best run stoppers. Mike Evans is suspended. Who knows if Julio, Godwin are going to play in this one. So, yeah, give me the healthier team. They got a little bit of confidence coming off of the win last week. And I bet against the Bucks twice. I've been wrong twice. So I'm ready to get hurt again. But I just see, Green Bay dominating this one in the trenches.
I am with you. I am locking in the Green Bay Packers here as well. Would not surprise me to see this game end up as a pick'em by the time it's ready to kick off here. Been good so far. Betting against Green Bay in week 1, going with them in week 2. I'm feeling it again here in week 3. Just too many injuries there for Tom Brady to survive. The guy is not mobile. You don't have a line. He's got nowhere to go. He's got no receivers. They're going to need a hell of an effort out of the defense and Leonard Fournette to get the job done. You can certainly run on this Green Bay team, but I think they're going to make a concerted effort to slow him down and should be able to control this one. So give me the Packers as a best bet as well. Chop, we making it 3 out of 3, or are you going with your boy Noodle or Tom?
Listen, we're going 3 of 3 here. Best bet. Give me the Packers. Give me the Packers here. This is not even close for me. like, I'm not a Brady truther. I'm an anti-Brady guy. I think that when he won that first Super Bowl in Tampa, he fell into a situation where probably 20 quarterbacks in the league could have won a Super Bowl with the best defense in the league, a great offensive line, the best group of pass catch. So I don't want to get into all that, but you look at Brady now at these press conferences, something's going on personally with him. He looks like he's wearing like a Halloween skeleton costume in his face. His face looks sunk in. He missed that time in training camp. It was mysterious. I don't want to get into his personal, but something's going on. Like Derek said too, the offensive line is depleted. The wide receivers are just absolutely obliterated right now. Yeah, Green Bay's got to walk in there and win this game. And I keep hearing Tampa being brought up as a NFC threat eventually. Maybe if they get perfectly healthy and Brady starts to come back around, maybe, because they do have a good defense. We'll see how that plays out. But there's a chance, slight chance, not a 99% probability chance, but there's a slight chance that maybe Brady has just finally hit the wall, and that's it. He's old. He's older than us, man, and he's out there playing football. Maybe it's time. I don't know. So definitely lock in the Packers, though.
All right, 3 for 3 on Green Bay. So that's 4 for you, Chop, 4 for Noto. I still got 2 left here to go to lock in some best bets. Next game, Atlanta and Seattle. Open Seattle -3. That's down to Seattle -2. Total at 42 here, Chop. So we saw Seattle, spirited effort, week 1. We saw them go on the road as expected and dump that game in San Francisco. Meanwhile, Atlanta been competitive. I mean, they had New Orleans in week 1. They battled back against the Rams in week 2. So 2 bad teams here. Very low spread, kind of an ugly total. What are you doing here? Seattle and Atlanta. And I do have a best bet coming up in this game as well.
I've got one best bet left, and I really, really debated using it on this game because I kind of like Atlanta, but I won't do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm just gonna lean Atlanta. And I just can't lock in a best bet for this team on the road in Seattle. So I'm just going to lean Atlanta. But you look at their 2 games, they've been very competitive, and they're feisty, man. They're very feisty, and I think Seattle is they played their best game of the year was in week 1. I don't think they'll ever play better than that this year. That was the Brussels game, and so I'd lean Atlanta here.
Well, you're leaning Atlanta, Chop. I'm pounding Atlanta here. I'm going to go with my 4th underdog here as a best bet. I'm going with the Atlanta Falcons. I'm playing competitive football. Mariota's been better than they thought. They're not getting anything from Kyle Pitts yet, so that could start this week. Drake London looks like the real deal in this defense. Yeah, they're giving up points, but they've created some turnovers here as well. And Geno Smith, it's only a matter of time before we see the blow up here. So I think Atlanta wins this game, so prefer the money line, but I will take them plus the 2, locking in the Falcons as a best bet. Derek, your thoughts here, Atlanta and Seattle?
I like Atlanta too for all the reasons you guys mentioned. And one of my favorite highlights from week 2, the Seahawks ran out 4 running backs in a Wildcat and ended up throwing an interception. That was just an amazing play down near the goal line. I don't trust Pete Carroll. And one other note, this could be one of the slower paced games. So it's projecting as like the second or third, slowest paced game. Both teams like to run the ball. So the under's in play as well, but give me the Falcons.
Yeah, I don't hate that under as well. It's probably going to be an uglier game. I just think Atlanta has a little bit more talent. So even going on the road, give me the Falcons and the points. All right, last game in that Sunday afternoon window, Rams and Cardinals. Line movement here. Rams went from -2 to -3.5. Total up there, as you'd expect, at 48.5. So, Derek, we'll stay with you. Rams right the ship against Atlanta, survive. I mean, there was potential to lose that game, but they get it done. Arizona, speaking of surviving, that crazy ending there in that game in Vegas, that was incredible to watch. So what happens here? 2 division opponents, very familiar with each other. Are you backing the Rams on the road, or are you taking the points with the Cardinals?
2 teams that have underwhelmed so far this season. The Rams got blown out and then didn't look great last week at home, almost blew that one. And the Cardinals, just Cliff Kingsbury, his offense just isn't working right now. The receivers, obviously without Hopkins and Rondale Moore, are kind of a mess. So I'm going to take the Rams. Last time these two teams played in the playoffs, the Rams just bow raced them. So I like the Rams. I don't trust Kingsbury, but this is not a bet that I'm going to have money on.
Yeah, no strong takes on this one. I lean the Cardinals with the points chop. I lean the under, but neither are bets I'm probably making on this one. This game could go a variety of directions. Which Arizona team shows up is my biggest question. So I'm going to pull the abstain here that Derek loves to use. But Chop, any more thoughts on this one, Rams and Cardinals?
Yeah, it's the fact that they threw in that extra hook on me here makes me not want to take the Rams. Can't take the Cardinals because they haven't looked particularly good as a team this year, but just kind of perusing what they've done here this year. They've played 4 games between the two teams. They played 4 games here this year, and they've hit in the 50s on 3 of those games. So maybe the over here. Maybe I'll take the over here.
All right, let's go to Sunday Night Football. San Francisco traveling to Denver. This thing opened Denver -2.5. That has flipped. Big 4-point swing here in favor of the Niners. So they now sit at 1.5-point favorites here on the road. Total at 44.5. Obviously, the story with the Niners, Chop, they lose Trey Lance. Luckily, they keep Jimmy G around, so he is stepping in here. More injuries at the running back position for this team as well, but going in and playing a Denver team that's right there with maybe the Colts as maybe the most disappointing team through 2 weeks. This offense just looks terrible. Russell Wilson starting to look old back there, just not as mobile. Jerry Jeudy's injured here. Albert O disappears. So what are we doing here? Niners and Broncos, Sunday Night Football.
Yeah. Yeah, good for them that they kept Jimmy G because they'd be really struggling right now if they hadn't. But this is a best bet for me. I only got 2 games left, and I certainly can't go down that next game as a Cowboys game. I can't clear my mind and do that without having a lean towards my Cowboys. So this is going to be my best bet, and it's going to be the Broncos. I just can't imagine that Russell is somehow washed in this offseason. Like I still think he's got good football left. There's something with the coaching here. The coaching is terrible for Denver. Let's face it. So maybe he gets that out of his system, and and they figure that out, and then Russell starts playing again the way he can, because I know he still has it in him. San Francisco, I'm worried about here with Jimmy G. Like, there's a reason why they were willing to move on to Trey Lance when they had really seen nothing out of Trey Lance that was any good. It's because Jimmy wasn't that good last year for the most part, man. Like, he had a nice magical run in the playoffs, but that was because of the defense and the running game. I don't think Jimmy G has ever really done anything since his New England days to be put up on a pedestal. I think Denver ends up winning this game, so give me Denver as a best bet.
All right, I'm going to stay away. I could see either team winning this game. I mean, these are 2 teams that could be very good. They're 2 teams that can disappear at times. I like the under here, Derek. The number seems a little bit too high. Team San Francisco wants to get that run game going. That chews up clock. Denver, maybe they don't want to wing it out as much either and get the ball in Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon's hands. So I would have pegged this total low 40s. It's sitting at 45. Under play for me here, Derek. Your thoughts, Sunday Night Football.
Nathaniel Hackett, what are we doing? What are we doing? This is the worst clock management I've ever seen. They were lining up for a 52-yard field goal in an important spot in the game. They take a delay a game, and then they punt instead of kicking the 57-yarder after kicking a 64-yarder the week before, not at altitude. And I don't know if you guys saw this. The Denver crowd was counting down the play clock to try to help this offense. I've seen this in the NBA games where, like, the road team, they're trying to mess them up, counting down the wrong, 3, 2, 1, trying to get them to shoot. No, they were trying to help the offense because it's been so bad. I lean towards Denver, but my goodness.
Yeah, I get, when you hire a guy named Hackett, that should have been an indicator. Maybe he should have stayed as a coordinator. It's been ugly. We could probably do an hour pod just on Nathaniel Hackett and his mess up. So let's move to Monday Night Football. We got Chops Cowboys in action, coming off a surprising win last week against Cincinnati. Giants here are the opponent, 2-0, 2 kind of ugly wins, but Big line movement here as well in favor of the Giants. It is down to Giants -1 total here at 39 at BetMGM. So, Derek, you and I have one best bet left on the board. So, one bullet left. Where are you going here, Giants or Cowboys?
I'll not be using it here. I'll have to circle back and lock in the Eagles as my fifth because.
All right, you want the Eagles?
Yeah.
Okay.
These two primetime games, geez, can we get something
bad.
a little bit better? It's pretty bad. Anyway, Cooper Rush, teams kind of rally around when the quarterback gets hurt, the backup, his first start. I should have saw that coming last week instead of betting the Bengals on the road. But now that they're going on the road, it's just hard for me to see it. I do like the Cowboys defense, causing some problems for Daniel Jones. He's still one of the worst quarterbacks around. So I don't like this game. I would like to take the under, but 39 is just so low. I don't know. I'll let you guys talk about it. If I had to make a pick, I would take the Giants.
I am locking in the Giants as a best bet. My only favorite here, and it's the damn Giants at -1. But they're going to be in these kind of games. Ugly. I think they're going to be able to get Saquon going. No worry. Dallas's defense played pretty well against Cincinnati, but I just can't trust Cooper Rush on the road. He was decent. He did what he had to do, but this Giants defense looks solid. We'll see the status of Leonard Williams, if he's able to go or not. But Chop, I'm going against the Cowboys here. I'm locking in the Giants on Monday Night Football as my last best bet. Wrap us up here, Chop. What do we got? Cowboys, Giants.
It's not a terrible bet. I mean, I'm going to lean towards the Cowboys only because I look at there's the 4 units. There's the Giants offense, Giants defense, Cowboys offense, Cowboys defense. I think the best unit out of all that is the Cowboys defense.
That's my worry.
It's the only thing is, coming around end on Jones with those pass rushers and getting home to him could cause problems. So I'd lean the Cowboys just because of that.
All right, that will do it here for week 3. So a recap of the best bets. Chop is rolling with Baltimore, in New England, New Orleans, Philadelphia, Green Bay, and Denver. Noto's got Cleveland, Buffalo, Indianapolis, Green Bay, and Philly. I am rolling with Houston, Jacksonville, Green Bay, Atlanta, and the Giants. So a lot of make you throw up in your mouth teams there on my list, but it is what it is. We'll see if one of us can rip off a 5 for 5 this week. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you to BetMGM, great sponsor of the show. Remember, promo code Grinders. I am not reading through all that again, so just use that promo code and take advantage of that offer. Risk-free bet up to $1,000. Can't beat it. Guys, final thoughts for the people. Chop, what do we got?
Looks like a good week of football. I'm looking forward to it. It's just can't beat it. It's only week 3, so we got a long way to go, and I think it's going to be a fun week.
Absolutely. Looks like some ugly totals here. So it'll be a fun week, but a lot of close spreads. So should get some competitive games. Noto, final thoughts, week 3, buddy. What do you got?
I just want to say thanks for tuning in. We know you got a lot of options, so listening to us makes us feel good. Good luck this week. And, give me that Colts money line bet. Let's go.
Love it. Bold call. Both you guys brought the stones on that one. I love it. So if you are listening on YouTube, do us a favor, click the thumbs up button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you want to leave some comments, that helps as well. We'll be checking that out. If you're listening on a podcast app, leave a review for them. Tell them we love the OGs. Give that 5-star review. But thank you to you guys for listening. As always, best of luck here in week 3. For Chop, for Noto, I am Beer. We are the DFS OGs. Thank you for listening. Good luck. We'll see you next week.